Culture, like if you've worked at a big company, it's not a set of ideas or a set of values. It's a set of behaviors and actions. How do people behave in your company? There are a lot of firms that are quote unquote entrepreneur friendly, but then they don't tell the entrepreneur the truth. You got to build your company and get people to invest in what you want to build, not what you think they want to hear.
As a longtime operator and co-founder of Andreessen Horowitz, Ben Horowitz has seen what it really takes to build and lead enduring companies, and how culture, down to the smallest behaviors, shapes a company's trajectory.
We have a saying at the firm, there's it's time to build, and we believe that there's never been a better time to build than today. If you were starting out today, as a founder, what do you think is required to be a good CEO in the AI age, today's sort of startup tech world?
Yeah, so I think being an entrepreneur, the main skill, which is a very, 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 very difficult one, and takes a lot of it. It sounds simple, but it ends up taking a lot of intelligence and courage, and just dealing with your own fears, is getting to the truth. Like, why is getting to the truth so hard? Well, it's often like super scary. So, and I see this with CEOs all the time, is you're looking at there's a problem, but you're just hoping it goes away. You don't want to, you're not going to run at it. And like in football, there's an old thing that they say is like, trust your eyes, because you see somebody, like you think you see the running back going that way, but you're not sure if he has the ball. But if you hesitate, you're definitely not getting him. So you have to trust your eyes and go. And most CEOs see it, but they don't trust their eyes. So, that department's all messed up. Like the product architecture is broken, but I know, I can just imagine what it's going to take to fix it. So I'm going to try to not deal with it, as opposed to go in, there's a competitor that just came out, and like I'm at OpenAI and DeepSeek comes out, and I'm like, oh, what do I do? That's scary. And so do you want to get to the truth about what that thing is fast and deal with it? Or do you want to let it go? And I would say many entrepreneurs let it go. It also, in just regular human confrontations, okay, that person's not really good enough. They've been in the organization. And I find every reason not to fire them. We just hired him not that long ago, and it's going to worry the employees, or, what is the press going to say, or this and that and the other. And so rather than seeing what's true, which is they're wrecking the organization, nobody wants to work for them, you just delay it and you run away from it and you don't fix it. And so that's kind of the thing. And so you really look for people who, one, can think for themselves. So you're not gonna, if they've thought about something and know what it is, they're gonna trust what they know and not be talked out of it. That's not the right go-to-market model. You ought to do this. Well, no. I thought about this a lot, and this is why this isn't going to work. You want somebody who can do that. And then kind of translating that ability to have original thoughts into the confidence in those original thoughts, to a point where you can run an organization that's growing and changing and dealing with competition, changing the technological landscape, all the things that wreck your company. And all those things. This is why a tech company is so hard. You started, it's a great idea, except for you have a competitor that started earlier that's got better people, or except for that somebody just released a product underneath you that's gonna basically wreck all of the assumptions you had when you built the thing. These are the things that you have to deal with. And you have to get to the truth really fast in order to deal with them.
You write a lot in your books about and you talk a lot about how to build long-lasting cultures, engines that sort of produce great outputs and great companies. What have you learned or changed your mind about that over time? Obviously everything else evolves, and some things stay the same and some don't. I'm just curious to hear.
Well, the thing is, cultural design is super complicated, I guess, and that's my biggest learning on it. So, kind of, first of all, definitionally. Culture, it's not like if you've worked at a big company, it's not like a set of ideas or a set of values, or that's just a set of bullshit. It's like a set of behaviors and actions. So like how do people behave in your company? If I send somebody a Slack message because I need help, like how long does it take them to reply? That's like a cultural behavior, for example. Are you on time to a meeting or late? You know, like do you stay at the Ritz-Carlton or the Red Roof Inn? Like these are kind of behavioral things that end up defining a lot about how the company works and how they interact, how they treat each other, and that kind of thing. And it turns out that that set of behaviors that you want, one, should be like pretty specific to your company, because it's how do you want to build competitive advantage for you? Like what are the behaviors that are going to create advantage, as opposed to just general things that we like. So, you know, and then one example I like to use on that is like Amazon is culturally cheap, and that comes from like a business strategy to be the low-cost leader. Apple is culturally not cheap, and that's because they want like perfect products. And so those are both fine cultural behaviors, but like you got to decide which one you want for your company. Oftentimes, any kind of behavior can get too extreme, so you have to deal with it from a system standpoint. So one of my favorite examples of this is a samurai. So in kind of ancient Japan, it was an honor culture. So like we live in a kind of a sticks and stones may break my bones culture. Like you can call me names, it's cool, I don't care, just don't shoot me in the head, I'm fine. That wasn't how it was in ancient samurai. Like, and that's anywhere where there weren't like uniformed police, it becomes important because, okay, somebody insults you, that's a diagnostic. Like to see if they can rob you or stab you or, you know, take your wife or that, you know, it's that type of idea. Your honor, i.e. you not letting anybody insult you, becomes like super important in a culture like that because you have to deal with the diagnostic. So there's a story a samurai story where there's a samurai and a fly lands on his shoulder. Another guy says to him, hey, you know, there's a fly on your shoulder, and a samurai chops his head off. And the other guy's like, why'd you do that? He's like, I'm not an animal, I don't have flies. He's insulting me like that. You got to go. And so, you know, they evolved because it got that intense, and that's you know, Japanese culture tends to be like super rigid. For those of you who haven't been, they developed like a whole framework of politeness, which is still like amazing. You know, if you go to Tokyo today, you'll see it. And a lot of that was, okay, like what is the comprehensive right set of ways to treat somebody to show them the ultimate respect, so that you don't get into a situation like that where you're telling a guy he's got a fly on his shoulder. But it, you know, got into like how you serve tea, how you bow, like everything is super precise because that's necessary. So it's a systems design where you have two different things. And so, for example, in the firm, we have this idea of respect for the entrepreneur and like showing up on time and making sure you get back to people and don't just ghost them, even if you're not going to invest and all that. But there's a limit to that because you don't want to be, you know, there are a lot of firms that are quote unquote entrepreneur friendly, but then they don't tell the entrepreneur the truth, which is a big problem. It's like, well, I want him to like me, so I'm not going to mention that like he really needs to get rid of his head of sales, or if he doesn't change the financial plan, this company's definitely going bankrupt. I'm not even going to say anything because I don't want him not to like me. And you see that all the time, by the way, with investors and boards and all this kind of thing. So in our culture, we say, no, like you have to tell the truth. Like you have respect, but like you're not friendly like that. You know, this isn't, we're not after like everybody's got to have a reference that says you're super friendly. We got to make sure that we're maximally helpful in that company succeeding and that entrepreneur succeeding. So like even if they might not like you, you gotta say what you think, and you have to tell the truth and what you believe to be true. You know, what you believe isn't always true, but you have to say it. So that's kind of the systems design of culture, where you can't just think of these behaviors in a vacuum. How do they interact with each other? You know, what are the limits that you have within them?
Change gears a little bit. Sometimes, you know, when you see, you know, in the tech news, it's very easy to look back at all the successful companies, and there's these wonderful stories, and the retro is like all rainbows and unicorns. But the reality is, for many of these companies, even the most successful ones, it's just a ride, all the way there. I was wondering if you could share some stories as encouragement, from all these founders who are early stage founders right now, just going through it. Maybe talk a little bit about what it's like, for real in the early stages, and how it then grows into the big
It's
thing.
all misery. All those, the way the press portrays it is so ridiculous. I mean, so that's actually why I wrote. So those of you, if you want a lot of stories on that, I wrote a whole book called The Hard Thing About Hard Things, where I go through like one horrible thing after another that happened to me. But the reason I wrote the book was, when I was CEO, it was actually kind of funny in retrospect, but it wasn't funny at the time. Every time I knew some other CEOs, and I would ask them how their company was going, and they'd be like, and I still remember their face, "It's amazing. It's the most fantastic thing ever. Like, it's incredible. Like, I can't believe it's great." And I had to go back, in my office, I'd be like, "God, I must be the biggest idiot in the world, because my company is just." And then, over the years, like, I watched every one of those guys go bankrupt, and I'm like, they were lying to me the whole time. And so that's kind of why I wrote the book. But it's always like, it's so stressful, because the first thing is, okay, I'm going to start a company. Like, great, like you have that great feeling for like 24 hours, and everybody congratulates you. But like half the people who congratulate you, they're already going like, I hope that motherfucker fails. I hate him. And so you've got that kind of thing going. And then everybody good that you've ever known in your career, you're trying to hire them and bring them on. So like you're putting like your entire network, every credibility out there. Then you got to raise money. And who do you start with? Well, a lot of times, like if you know anybody with money, you're going to then ask your friends, maybe you could put in some money or so forth, or then, the one investor contact you have and so forth. So now you've got like, everything in your life is in this thing, and you get a year in or whatever, 6 months in, you put the product out and you realize, oh shit, I fucked up this and that and the other and so forth. And well, what if it doesn't work? Oh, well, I guess my whole life collapses, because like I've hired everybody good I know, I've asked everybody I know who has money for money. I'm like, this is going to be terrible. And so just like that level of pressure is hard to deal with, and stuff always goes wrong. Like nobody ever built a company clean. So
all the entrepreneurs here, Demo Day is coming up just a couple weeks away. They're all going to go through sort of a fundraise process. Any advice that you have to the founders who are just about to hop into a official fundraise process?
Yeah, so I think that the key on fundraising, this is going to sound so silly, is try to control your, like there's a big tendency to try to tell investors what they want to hear. Like, well, what do they want to hear? What do they want the chart to look like, and so forth. There's certain like information that you have to give, like, okay, is it growing? Like, what's the idea? Like, what do you think the market is, and all that kind of thing. But you should get that as aligned to what you actually think as possible. Because if you go in there and put up stuff that it's like, well, I don't even know what that is, but somebody told me investors wanted to see that, it gets very sticky when you try to defend it. And that's kind of a lot what people are looking for, is like, how well have you thought your idea through? How much do you know to get to that idea? How well did you think it through? How convicted are you on it? Like, that's a lot of what people are looking for that they won't tell you they're looking for. And then that other stuff is other stuff. But you got to build your company and get people to invest in what you want to build, not what you think they want to hear. And that's super important, because investors can be destructive if they get misaligned with you.
I think we are at time. Ben, thank you so much for coming.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I would value people who are really into it and have a track record of being loyal over, has moved between companies and is looking for the money. When they're already rich, one, they ask for way more. If I have $10 million, $5 million means nothing to me. Only $100 million means something to me. So unless you can change somebody's wealth in order of magnitude, like the money's not going to hold them. So if you hire somebody who's already got $50 million, the amount of success you have to make that motherfucker happy is crazy. And what happens is when things go bad, they call in Rich. They're like, sorry, I'm not coming to work today. I'm already rich. It's too hard. And so you have to be very, very careful about that.